You know what? I am pretty excited about this NHL trade deadline. I'm really hoping some big or more big moves happen. Obviously, I'm hoping the Canadian teams do a lot more, as I really want to see the Stanley Cup drought in Canada end. It's kind of ridiculous how long it's been since a Canadian team won a cup. I mean, there's been lots of Canadian teams throughout this period of time that have made the playoffs. You figure just one of them would fluke into a win. I truly do believe that this is the year a Canadian team is going to win the Stanley Cup. My pick, possibly. I'm going to release my picks before the playoffs on this channel, but I think my pick will probably be the Edmonton Oilers, depending on what they do. And there's been a lot of buzz around centers around the league. I really do like this. I really want the Leafs to get a center. I think a lot of teams, the Winnipeg Jets could probably use one as well for more depth. I think the Leafs are probably the most desperate in my opinion. But the center position isn't the only thing that these teams need. They also need scoring depth. Now, one player that I was looking at is Ryan Donato. You know, he is a player that currently plays for the Blackhawks. Now, a lot of people try to list him as a center. I don't really know why that is, because if you actually look into it, he seems to play on Bedard's wing quite a bit. Maybe he switches back and forth, but I much greatly prefer him as a winger. So this certainly isn't going to be a center video. Now, he was drafted in the second round, and he's always had a lot of potential, but he's having one of the best seasons. I think he's having the best season of his career with about 19 goals in 50-odd games. Like, that's really good production. That's on pace for about a 30-goal season. Now, to be fair, I don't want to get people too excited about this player. A lot of players, there's always a number of players that do happen to have like really good season on like really bad teams. You know, Max Domi had a really good season on Chicago, and you know, he isn't looking that great for the Maple Leafs in my opinion. So sometimes when players just get more time on ice, they just end up scoring more points even though their team is objectively kind of terrible. So the problem with this is that Elliotte Friedman has reported that his value is increasing. This is the main problem that I have. Why as a Leaf fan, I would want the Leafs to stay out of this for the time being, because I don't exactly know what Friedman means by value increasing. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I don't like that. It's not that I wouldn't be willing to get the player. Like, I think he's a decent player. I just wouldn't be willing to give up premium assets. So what exactly would this what would this team want? Would they want a third round pick or something like that? Then it's something that I would consider, but I'm not really sure if the Chicago Blackhawks would take that, right? Now, if it comes down to him coming on unrestricted free agency and seeing if we can get him on a bargain, see, now that is something that I absolutely would not mind at all. He is only getting paid about $2 million on his contract right now. You got to remember that. That's not a lot. And if he would be willing to come in UFA on July 1st, absolutely. Or if they were willing to give up perhaps a bargain to the Maple Leafs, Jets, or what have you, why not? So the teams mentioned by Friedman were Toronto, Edmonton Oilers, the Ottawa Senators, and the Winnipeg Jets. Honestly, more than all of these teams, I would kind of like to see him on Edmonton. I think of all teams, they are the closest to ending the drought. Now, that does not mean I'm advocating for Edmonton to give up premium assets. I actually made a video not long ago on Edmonton analyzing that, like, I think that they should be giving up premium assets for a player that is essentially a player that is a defenseman, a player, maybe a center might be good for them, but I think they need to spend assets on getting a goaltender. A lot of people disagree with me on that. I understand that Stuart Skinner brought them all the way, but I still believe they need a little bit of depth there. You know, that's just my opinion anyway. Now, one thing that I do want everybody to take into account about Ryan Donato is that he is a bit of an outlier in terms of his season. Like, he is having, like, essentially the best season of his career. I'm a little bit worried about that. Like, again, my philosophy is with this player, listen, if you're going to go get him, try to get him for a bargain. He wouldn't be the first player on my radar. That's what I would say when it comes to depth for these teams. Although, I think Edmonton would be a fantastic fit. So if you are a fan of these teams, Ottawa, Leafs, Jets, whatever, what would you be willing to give up for Donato, and do you think that your team should go for it depending on the price point? Or do you just not like this player at all? Do you just think, hell no, we should just avoid that player? Also, as we get closer to the Stanley Cup playoffs, what moves would you like to see your team do? And do you think your team is actually going to win the cup, or what team is going to win the cup? When it comes to Edmonton, I mean, they've been having a very good season, but since that trade or offer sheet, whatever you want to call it, they have absolutely not really solved that position that they left a hole in. You know that Winnipeg probably wants another center. The Leafs are the most desperate by any means for a center. And let's talk about the Ottawa Senators here. I have not even been posting at all about them this season. Maybe that's just my bias or whatever, but the Ottawa Senators are having a really good season. I think they lost to the Panthers last night, but other than that, man, they've been having an unbelievable season. I think the Ottawa Senators just might be actually kind of good now, and especially with the Boston Bruins being kind of not as good. They're definitely falling off. Finally, it looks like this team is actually falling off. It looks like Ottawa's ready for a resurgence, and you just know the Ottawa Senators are going to beat the Leafs in the playoffs. You know it's just destined for them to play the Maple Leafs in the first round of the playoffs. I don't know about you guys, but as a Leaf fan, I have no confidence in the Leafs heading towards the playoffs. I wish they showed up in the big dance, but unfortunately they generally don't. Hopefully they can change it this year, though. Anyways, I'm going to end the video there. If you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And make sure to have a great day, guys. Goodbye.